Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and today we're working through our Botany Main Lesson block. This is a Waldorf curriculum and this is for 5th grade, and today we're up to working with ferns and horsetails. So this is a fairly short lesson and we have a lot of these drawings already on our chalkboard, but we're going to go ahead and do one for our main lesson book. And today we're going to approach it a little bit differently, and we're going to be using drawing paper rather than watercolor paper, and we're also going to be using our color pencils. So this drawing paper is 70 pound. We got it from a local craft store. I'm showing you a couple of the color pencil sets that we're going to be using. We're going to use some Lyra, Koh-i-Noor, and Arijotin. We're using a variety because they each come with kind of a slightly different color tone, and so we're going to be drawing from a couple of those different sets. My son really likes the Koh-i-Noor color pencils. They're a little waxier and they produce a really beautiful, rich color. And this set is the newest collection that we got, and it's by Arijotin, and this is a Japanese color pencil, and they're very light, beautiful color range. They work really well with a lot of these nature drawings that we're doing. So here are some of the resource books that we're using for this particular lesson. This is the backyard version of the One Small Square, and it has a really nice picture of horsetail in the back, so we're going to use that as inspiration for this drawing. The Practical Naturalist also has a lot of information, but I'm finding this book a little bit harder to use because while there may be some sections on ferns and horsetails, mostly they're pictures and it doesn't have a lot of information about those particular types of plants. The trees book came with a couple of pictures on ferns and horsetails as well, but again, not a ton of information. And then the plant book again has some more pictures. So we're going to be drawing from all these different sources in order to do our work. And while I was doing this lesson, we happened to pick up another book. I'm going to show that to you a little bit later. And that one has proved to be really helpful with this particular main lesson block. Well, I think we're going to keep it to the horsetail. There's this horsetail in the back because we're going to do like an ancient forest, sort of. So we big had ferns and big. Remember those big ferns? They were like trees, but they were like ferns, but they look like palm trees. So we're gonna do a couple of those. Like, suppose we do a couple of those. What if we did a couple of those at the bottom and then ferns all around it, and then we did the writing at the top. And I want some room for some mushrooms in the background. Mushrooms? Yeah, because that kind of goes. That looks more like a palm tree. I know, because it kind of does. It's the one that we had in the front yard. Okay, but the leaves are distinct. And then we need some horsetail here. I'm going to have this book open so that we can copy the horsetail first. There's going to be a lot going on in this drawing, and it's going to take us 2 days because my son wasn't feeling all that great the first day, and so we did part of it, and then we also found it to be a little bit challenging with both of us working in this small space to get our paper like within the camera frame. And so at some point he's just going to take his paper and go work in another place because it was a little bit tight for us to both be working here. So we're going to have quite a bit going on for this drawing. We're going to have some horsetail on the side as well as a conifer tree in the background, and then that fern tree to the left as well as ferns all around, and even some rocks with some lichen up towards the bottom right side. Now, there's a couple of reasons why we're adding so much to this drawing, and that's because the things that we're drawing in addition to what's going on with our main lesson are things that we previously already learned in some of the main lessons that we've already done, or they're going to come up in the next couple of lessons. And so it's a nice way to preview as well as review some of the information. So finally my son went to the desk that's right behind me while I'm working here. He got the main pencil drawing done, and now he's going to start coloring it all in. So this is not a typical way to do a Waldorf lesson in that you wouldn't pencil in the outline of your drawing first. You would kind of work from the center part of the drawing out. And I don't mean from the center of the page, but for the horsetail, for instance, you would be creating the horsetail from the inside out rather than the way we're outlining them from the outside in. So we do take our own liberties to find what's going to work for us. And there's a a lot of wisdom in working from the inside out. It allows you to work with the shape until you get the shape that you want, rather than outlining it and having it be definite and then you can't work with it. But again, we're using a pencil so we can erase it until we get it right, and then we can come back in with our color pencils. So I kind of regret using color pencils for this drawing. We have really been enjoying our watercolors, especially the distress inks. The colors have been so vibrant, really beautiful, and once we were done with this one, it just didn't have the same richness as our watercolor paintings, but that's okay. At least it adds a little bit of variety to our main lesson book. And so now we have some chalk pastel drawings as well as some oil pastel drawings and a lot of watercolors, and so it's nice to add this color pencil drawing into the mix. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to bind the book after we were done with the main lesson, and that was so that we could have a variety of different mediums to work with rather than just using color pencils, because it would not work out very well to do watercolors within a main lesson book that was already bound, primarily because it would be drawing paper and also because it would just get wet and it just wouldn't be really functional. So this is my son's drawing. His was a little bit more sparse, but that's okay. We're going to add some lines in a minute, but first I want to show you the book that we picked up from the library. This was from the library bookstore. It's quite an old version, but it is so good. It was one of those last minute things that I found in the bookstore right when we were leaving, and I'm going to reveal the price of this when I do my huge book haul coming up in a little bit. So we got this book, and it turned out that it was so well written. Tons of information about the different things that we're studying, way more than the Practical Naturalist, which is kind of a little bit more of like an overview, doesn't have a lot of really detailed information about the things that we were studying. And this one was published in 1984. It's by Reader's Digest, and it's such a treasure. I'm so glad that I have it. It's going to work so well with so many of our botany and animal main lesson blocks that are coming up. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put some lines in for my son. He finds it a little bit easier if I do this, although this is also not typical for a Waldorf main lesson block. Usually you will have the child learn how to write a straight line within that space, but he still needs assistance in that, so I will write those lines for him. You can easily erase them later, especially if you are going to be writing this with ink or a fountain pen. I went ahead and did mine as well. I'm working alongside with my son for this unit, and if you want to see some of the other lessons in our Botany main lesson block, you can tap on the screen right now. And as always, you can find me on a daily basis by visiting me on Instagram at Pepper and Pine.